What is up, guys? I am the one and only Eagle Double T, and in this video, I'm going to be taking a look back in gaming's history and seeing if the N64 controller is really that bad. So without further ado, let's begin. Now, this controller has been met with a lot of criticism over the years. People say it's oddly shaped, that the joystick is terrible, stuff like that. So let's see if it's really that bad. First, let's talk about the comfort. Now, personally, I honestly have to say that this is one of the most comfortable controllers I've ever held. It is just very comfortable, and I'm not talking about the shape or anything like that. I'm talking about sheer comfort. My fingers, thumbs, they rest comfortably on the bumpers and buttons and D-pad. It's shaped very well, and it is very comfortable to hold. It's honestly one of the most comfortable controllers I've ever held. Now, the middle part isn't as comfortable as the outside parts, but it is still very nice. So when it comes to comfort, I don't think anyone should ever complain about the comfort of this controller. Next, let's talk about the shape. Now, Nintendo made it in this shape because they thought that if 3D gaming ever failed, then they would be left with essentially a Super Nintendo controller. I mean, think about it. If you cut off this part right here, you're left with a D-pad, buttons, and shoulder buttons, like the Super Nintendo controller, except more comfortable. So that's why they made it the way they did. And even though 3D gaming did end up succeeding exponentially, it was a smart thing to do. Now, the shape, it is weird, it is awkward, I will admit. It's not just as simple as like the DualShock 1, where all you did was like move your thumb down, or whatever. It is weird, but, I mean, for most games, you hold your hand in the same position for the whole game, usually. So, while I don't think it's a huge issue, I can understand where people are coming from when they say they hate the shape of this controller. Next, let's talk about the durability of this controller. Now, the cord feels okay. It doesn't feel like it's going to break on you or anything like that, so it has a nice cord. The plastic they use feels very nice. Very nice plastic. It feels very high quality. The buttons, the D-pad, everything feels very high quality, except for the joystick. But you gotta admit, this was the first joystick ever, so I don't expect it to be perfect or anything like that. But for the most part, this controller is built very well. Now, when it comes to the features of these controllers, it has a couple nice ones. First of all, it had 4 controller ports, compared to the original PlayStation and Sega Saturn's 2, which were great for games like Super Smash Bros. And Mario Kart 64. The other thing is the built-in memory card in the controller. Now, I think this is neat because if you were going to like a friend's house to spend the night or something, and you took your controller, you got the memory card right in the controller, so you have all your saved data in the controller. So it's pretty convenient. And also, it had a rumble pack, which slid into where the memory card slot is right here. Now, that was really good because this was one of the first controllers to ever use rumble. So when it comes to features, it does have a couple of nice ones. Now let's talk about the buttons, etc. Now, it has the A and B button, which are very nice, high quality feeling. These somewhat useless, awkward C buttons, which were usually used as camera control. Personally, I would have liked to see these as just A, B, X, and Y. Basically on a Super Nintendo controller, but it works just fine. It has a nice start button, one of the best D-pads in history. It is just very high quality, it's nice and big, it's very great. Nice little bumpers. Very functional, work nicely. Now, one of the biggest flaws of this controller is the joystick. Now, this is one of the first controllers to ever use a joystick, so you gotta give credit where credit is due, but that doesn't cut it. It barely functions. I've heard of these falling apart, mine's never fallen apart, but everyone on the face of the earth hates this joystick. So, is the N64 controller really that bad? No. I can definitely understand where people are coming from when they say the N64 controller is terrible, because it does have a terrible joystick in an odd shape, but the truth is, it's very high quality, and it is very, very comfortable. Subscribe if you haven't, like this video if you enjoyed it, and comment whether you like the N64 controller or not. I am the one and only Eagle Double T signing off. Goodbye.